Hey guys, Nate here with the Volunteer Tech Vlog. This will be another feedback session here, and this one is for Video File. So a while back, I actually mentioned him in feedback session 1, and I'm mentioning him again because I said I would. And I'm finally getting around to catching up on all these feedback logs here. I've got this comment log with all the comments that come in from various places. So I go through and try to respond to do kind of like a Q&A thing. Because why not? It's kind of fun to do that. So anyway, the name is Video File, spelled kind of funny with like a 0 instead of an O and a 1 instead of an I. So it's kind of an interesting YouTube name, very creative. But anyway, it's Larry from Dancing Man Media. He signed his name at the bottom. And this was, he left this comment back in June 9th of 2015. And it was on YouTube. And it was in response to a video I posted that posed a question. And I asked the question, when should you call yourself an audio engineer? And he wrote back the lengthiest comment that I have ever received. And first of all, I think it's cool he took the time to actually put together a thoughtful response. So I wanted to honor that by reading it and creating a video as I continue to think about what this means. So anyway, let's see what Larry, the video file, had to say. He says, Big Nate, great question. I've recently discovered your YouTube channel and I'm loving it. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and your passion. I am very passionate about good sounding audio. I am a lifelong student of audio, trying to learn as much as I can so I can teach it to other people. That was my aside. Back to Larry. So he says, now the question at hand, as I continue here. First, a little bit about me. I am an audio geek. Been around AV since I could push 16 millimeter film projectors, VCRs, and overheads around to classrooms in high school. Volunteered to help run sound with many organizations and at least my last 3 churches. I love the whole process, the planning, the production, and all the behind the scenes work that goes into making an event look like everyone just showed up and things just happened. Very, very, the danger of doing that is that people don't understand how much work actually does go into it. I'm actually up against something like that right now. We're trying to do a kids program, and we've been given like 15 minutes to set everything up in one, essentially 45-minute rehearsal, and then we're going to do it. And it's like, whoa. Wait a minute, what? So anyway, yeah, that is cool when you can do the behind the scenes and the planning and make it look like everyone just shows up. That is definitely a good goal to have. I'm agreeing with you. But one of the problems is people don't realize how much work actually needs to happen behind the scenes ahead of time and how much planning does need to happen to make something, make a program happen without big problems. So anyway, good point there. I've lost my place now. Just showed up, just happened. I consider continuing here. I consider myself to know just enough to be dangerous, which is why I'm lurking around the web and YouTube studying this stuff. Especially since everyone is moving from analog to digital. I do not consider myself an audio engineer at this point, but would like to someday. When to call yourself an audio engineer? I don't think having any particular degree or educational program credentials on a sheepskin can bestow that designation. I think it's a combination of education/knowledge. However, you obtain it and experience. For example, my wife is a certified or licensed marriage and family therapist. She had her degree, but she spent the next 3 to 4 years as an intern accumulating, I think, 3,000 hours of clinical hands-on experience before she could take the state test and call herself a licensed MFT, which would be marriage family therapist. I consider myself an audio engineer intern. AEI. I like that term. That's a good term. Given the openness of the field, anyone with a desire or passion can learn it. It's just a matter of taking the time and finding places you can put your hands on the gear to get experience. I don't know what would be an appropriate time period one should have to practice before they can call themselves an audio engineer, AE. But I've got to think it would have to be at least 1 to 4 years. It all comes back to how much experience you get from actual hands-on. Another analogy from my wife's work, she got really angry when a well-known and respected public figure said that no therapist should call themselves a marriage counselor unless or until they have been married some number, I forget the number, of years. Back then, I somewhat sided with her, if not for my mere self-interest of self-preservation, but after having been married several years and going through myriad of challenges, and I think she to some degree would admit there is some value in what he was saying. Experience, being in situations, is the best teacher. So yeah, all that to say, you can study the books all you want, but if you're not in the trenches, it's going to be hard to really come into your own as a audio engineer. My opinion is that the audio engineer should have a certain baseline skill set that should include some music theory, understanding of acoustics and psychoacoustics, some knowledge of circuits and loading, as well as the ability to grab just about any basic or core audio device and demonstrate how to make it work. Should be able to grab any analog and nowadays digital mixer, some instruments, mics, effects boxes, amps, speakers, plug it all together, make it work. Similarly, they should have a basic understanding of recording, editing, and playback. Once they have a core knowledge, they can learn the rest as they go. Technology will keep changing, but once you know the core principles and functions, you can learn the nuances on the run. Phew, I said a mouthful there. Experience and how immersed one can make themselves will determine the time frame when they can demonstrate their expertise. Keep the videos coming. Regards, Larry A., audio engineer intern, Dancing Man Media. So very cool of Larry for taking the time to share his thoughts on that and some metaphors from the marriage counseling world and experience. So yeah, I mean, I think. So he said some music theory. That is a huge one that I definitely agree with. Doing sound and not being a musician, or never have been a musician, it's pretty tricky. I mean, understanding song form and the structure of a song and, basic chord structure and key changes and all that knowledge that comes along with reading music and playing in a band and watching a conductor, all that stuff does have an impact on you as a sound engineer. Understanding acoustics, psychoacoustics, knowledge of circuits and loading. I would add to that negotiation skills, being able to mediate, being able to speak clearly, communicate well, to get the desired outcome and to try to get the best out of your musicians. There's definitely a lot to think about, but just being able to throw a bunch of equipment together and make it work, it definitely is kind of like the entry level thing. But I mean, what I'm trying to dive into now is what about a really difficult acoustic environment? How do you deal with that? That's kind of what I want to explore more, is how do you get a good sounding system in a very difficult sounding room? That's the type of stuff that goes a little bit deeper, and it's hard to pick up things like that without really spending some time with like a mentor or an expert or some sort of guru who knows a lot. But anyway, that's enough about me pontificating on this stuff. Very cool about sharing your thoughts on being an audio engineer and when to call yourself one. If you've got some thoughts out there on YouTube watching this video about when someone should call themselves an audio engineer, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video.